Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Sorry for the late upload. Life, work, all that goofy stuff has been pretty crazy, but here we are. Week going into week 6 for quarterback rankings. Biggest thing to take away from this is that one, we're at the midway point, so we're pushing on past 2020 season, but we're also seeing. I don't want to use the word stagnation, but a little bit of regulation, as I talked about last week, in which obviously some of these quarterbacks are the cream of the crop versus others that are kind of just fading to the back of it. Um, if I were to tell you that Luis Perez and Quinn Dormady were the most dynamic passers of Week 5, would you believe me? But that's truly the case. AJ McCarron, Ben DiNucci, Brandon Silvers, they were obviously the top of this list for the majority of the season. They're kind of, I don't want to say regressing, but evening out. AJ had the best game, in my opinion, out of the three. But, we saw a debut this week of Reed Sinnett. Obviously, he's hurt now and he'll be out for the season. So, kind of, it was the biggest spark that San Antonio had, but it looks like he's done for the season. So, this is a Jack Cohn show for at least 1 week. Then we got, Quinn Dormandy looking to be the starter for the Guardians. Pretty Orlando Sentinel. Greg Parks tweeted it out as well that he'll be making his first professional start after coming in this past week. Guys, once again, appreciate all the support for the channel. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Really helps me out. Let's get into these rankings real quick. Coming in honorable mention, Dear King and Cole McDonald didn't really play that much either one of them. King, was 0 for 1, two rushing attempts, 9 yards, had his weekly touchdown. King kind of took a step back this week, mainly because Teamu's effectiveness and Abram Smith being in there. Obviously, Smith rushed over 200 yards. King's role is obviously that gadget player, wasn't really needed that much. So it had nothing to do with his skill set. It was more about his volume of workload. So I couldn't give him a ranking. McDonald was the same way. After being at number 11 this week, he only had one rushing attempt for 5 yards. Didn't really utilize his read option passing game. I would have liked to have seen that, just to kind of keep that spark going. I know that term is really overused right now, but he had one passing attempt one rushing attempt for 5 yards, and didn't have an official passing attempt, but he did complete a 2-point conversion in their 21-14 loss to the Sea Dragons. Both those guys coming in at honorable mention right now. Coming in at number 10, Jack Cohn. Originally, he was number 8. Went 7-15, 42 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 3 rushing attempts, 16 rushing yards, 1 fumble. I mean, he's pretty much regressed since his game against the Guardians. He regressed so much that they eventually put in Reed Sinnett to start week 5. There was an offensive coordinator change from Jaime Elizondo down to Jimmy Johnson doing the plays. Either way, Cohn looks uncomfortable. His confidence looks completely shattered. They have a must-win game. If Arlington wins, they pretty much guarantee themselves a playoff spot. San Antonio has to win to stay in the playoff hunt, if you will. I mean, Cohn probably gets his final opportunity because Sinnett's out, and I wouldn't recommend a quarterback change. But if he loses in week 6, I think they'll ride with Jawan Pass for the rest of the season. I mean, this is it for him. He's not only fighting for his XFL career, he's fighting for his NFL career, in my opinion. And Hines Ward's been vocal about bringing in a third quarterback for this week. Coming in at number 9, Kyle Slaughterhouse, despite being 2-1. His offense looks very anemic. He's pushing the ball a little bit too much downfield, not taking the underneath routes. And if his first option is gone, it looks like he's checking down to Canella. He's not reading the whole field. This week he went 14 of 26, 148 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick, 2 rushing attempts, 17 rushing yards. I mean, Bob Stoops talks about the spark that Slaughter provided, but in his 3 starts, we've seen 10 points, 11 points, 12 points in consecutive weeks. I've talked about it a lot. It doesn't seem like he's actually reading the field very jittery, and I think he's putting way too much pressure on himself personally because he does want to get back to the NFL. Slaughter was pretty effective last year before he got hurt, and then obviously the injury really screwed things up a lot. I don't know if it's a change in quarterback that's needed. I'd love to see Kevin Anderson or maybe change in play calling with the two offensive coordinators. Maybe you're getting some conflicting reports, but either way, something's got to change in Arlington because at this time they can't compete with Houston, and Slaughter looks like he does not have the ability to make some things going. Number 8, Reed Sinet, San Antonio. First time on the rankings, went 13 of 19, 97 yards, one touchdown, one pick, one rushing attempt, 10 yards. I mean, he's got big bodied receivers in there, but in the end, Sinet, apologies, there's a train right by my place. As effective as he was, it don't be mad that it's over. Be happy that it happened. I'm glad Sinet got his debut. I had him higher than Cone in my preseason rankings, but Hines Ward felt that Cone should have been the starter. They did look like they were moving the ball effectively, even though it was an interception. It was a good aggressive throw that he just underthrew slightly. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point because the guy's on IR. It seems that they're going to ride or die with Jack Cohn. But I mean, if they lose, then it's going to be the Jawan Pass show, hopefully, for the rest of the year. They did some good things, and that had them taking the lead early. But this dual quarterback system with non-rushing quarterbacks isn't an effective way to win games, and that's why San Antonio's not in the best position right now. Coming in at number 7, Paxton Lynch. I mean, Lynch was okay, be the best way to put it. Went 5 of 9, 47 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, 4 rushing attempts, 16 yards. Looked like a quick hook. Coach Buckley and Robert Ford look like to want to see what Dormandy can do. Obviously 0-4, the toilet bowl versus Vegas. It looked like, just whatever we can do. They ended up putting up 32 points with Dormandy at the hold, but like I said, Lynch didn't do necessarily anything bad, but when you have a volatile team environment, uh, that's really calling for immediate action from coaches in looking to provide a spark. And unfortunately for Lynch, that's exactly what Dormandy did. So Lynch goes from 5 to 7. Coming in at number 6, Quentin Dormandy. Previously, he was unranked. His initial ranking. He wasn't on my initial rankings. He ended up ranking towards the back end in week 1, but he went 22 of 25, 256 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, no rushing attempts, no rushing yards, and 1 fumble. I mean, this is a pretty good feel-good story. Him and Cody Latimer look to be pretty linked up with how they're doing. Latimer's been playing at an all XFL tight end level, according to Mike Mitchell, which he had him in the midseason report. Great to see him have some success, especially with all those false accusations that were made with. He went out there, he played fearless, gave the Vipers, a run for their money, and gave the Guardians an opportunity. Unfortunately, Luis Perez has rebounded in his starts. Maybe it was an adrenaline rush. Maybe he really is this good. I don't know. If you talk to John Vogel, a Tennessee fan, they tell you he wants nothing to do with Dormandy regardless. Guy came in, for lack of a better term, balled out and has an opportunity to prove himself moving forward, most likely for the next couple of weeks. DeAndre Francois, the injury report says he's not on it, but with all the rumors circulating around him and Quentin Flowers not looking to be the most dynamic, it really looks like it's going to be between him and Paxton Lynch for the last part of the season. Coming in at number 5, I got Luis Perez. Previously, he was at number 5. After not starting last week, he's put together back-to-back solid performances. Coming in relief of Hundley, went 20 of 28, 269 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing attempts, 9 rushing yards. Turnover-free game. It's been a roller coaster of a season for Perez. Back in the driver's seat now after getting his first win. Probably played one of his best games of his career. Granted, it's a little bit easy when you got Jeff Badet and Sinky Sweeney helping you out. Overall, the guy looked poised. He looked calm. Was able to actually step in the throws rather than rather than kind of throw off his back foot, where we saw earlier in the season. Didn't really look rattled. The guy's a veteran. He's starting for over 30 touchdowns in these leagues, crossed 4,000 yards. I mean, do we see a step back with the Battlehawks coming in next week? I don't know, but right now in the micro, Perez is playing some of his best football in the last 2 weeks, and it's great to see it not only for the Vipers but also for Luis, who's gone through a lot in his life. Coming in number 4, I got Ben DiNucci, Seattle Sea Dragons. Yeah, they won. Yeah, he put some great highlights, but the guy's got 13 turnovers. Um, at this point, I can't ignore those anymore, especially with Teamu kind of playing a little bit more cleaner. DiNucci went 17 of 32, 209 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 4 rushing attempts, 33 rushing yards, and a touchdown. He leads the league in a lot of categories, but he also does it. Also has the most turnovers, as stated. He's on pace for 26 with 5 games left. Despite winning 3 games in a row, it seems that the Dragons are kind of winning in spite of him. Everyone wants to throw that Josh Gordon touchdown he threw as like a big highlight, but it could have easily been a deflected pass. He had the underneath route and chose to risk it for the biscuit, but in the end, it did work out for him. Seems like he's trying to be too cute at times, make some air quote NFL level throws instead of just kind of taking the simple throw, the 6 yard gain, rather than airing it out on a 3rd and 10. Uh, I mean, this is DiNucci's team, and they're going to ride or die with him. But his reckless behavior with the football kind of leaves more to be desired. And I mean, that stuff does, you can be lucky for as long as you want, but eventually your luck runs out unless you're Pat Mahomes. And then it kind of seems like it just all kind of works out for you in the way. Uh, Biggest thing is he's making this game a lot harder than it really is. And, these unnecessary turnovers, he's due for at least 2 every game. So we'll see what Seattle's got going on. Obviously, they're still in the playoff hunt, but you can't be silly with the football, and that kind of looks like what he's doing right now. Number 3, Jordan Teamu, DC Defenders, coming up from number 4. I mean, when you're 5-0, 5-0 at the quarterback position, uh, you got to start getting some respect. Eventually, I had him pretty far in the rankings after ranking him number 1. He went 12 of 18 this week, 90 passing yards, no touchdowns, no pick, 8 rushing attempts, 23 rushing yards. It's not the greatest stat line, but what's not showing up is the amount of broken tackles that Teamu had in week 5. Oftentimes, he's getting chased around. He's taking a negative 7 yard gain, to making it a positive rush. So obviously changing it from, let's say, a 2nd and 17 to a 2nd and 7 is a way more advantageous situation. Doesn't always show up in the stat column, but he's doing a great job of managing the game, not kind of limiting his ill-advised throws. And when his first option is taken away, saw he threw the ball a little bit, threw the ball away a little bit more, or was able to tuck in and get some positive yards. You know, with 5-0 and looking like the best team, he's in prime position to obviously lead this team to a championship. And he's beating McCarron, he's beating DiNucci, he's got Silvers coming up, so we'll see what he does. Biggest thing about DC and Teamu in general is what are they going to do if they're down by 10 points? Are they going to continue to lean on the rushing attack, which they have the studs to, or are they going to throw it up and see what Teamu can do? Because some of his throws he made in week 3, his best passing game of the year, weren't the best throws. The ball just kind of leaned towards him a little bit. Makes those same throws, and the DB is just a second faster or a tenth of a second faster. Those are incomplete passes. Coming in at number 2, Brandon Silvers went 25 of 47, 227 passing yards, a touchdown, a pick, no rushing attempts, no rushing yards, 2 fumbles. He lost one of them. Takes a step back because of the turnovers and his passing selection. Like DiNucci, he's trying to make these NFL level throws rather than the best throw. Mike Mitchell pointed out, and when I rewatched the film, Caleb Elby, the 3rd string QB, was telling him, "Hey man, you had the underneath and stuff like that." regardless, despite their loss to the Sea Dragons, it does appear that obviously they'll win the South Division due to how weak it is. In a nice way to put it. I'm, AJ Smith's gonna figure it out. He's a savant when it comes to this stuff. He'll, retool the game plan. They got DC coming in. It's gonna be a great challenge between him and Greg Williams. I'm looking forward to Silver's kind of rebounding, throwing those 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, limits the interceptions, limits the fumbles, and Houston's got an upset victory technically against against DC. Coming in at number one, AJ McCarron, St. Louis Battlehawks. Previous ranking, I had him at 22 of 34, 236 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 4 rushing attempts, 12 rushing yards, 1 fumble. Put together a pretty decent stat line. However, it's clear that the Battlehawks left a bunch of points on the field, didn't cash in on 2 big kick returns. That started them on the other side of the side of the 50. I mean, my personal opinion, it looked like McCarron was more victim to Bruce Gradkowski's play calling more than anything else. There's some times it looked like they ran levels routes and they threw Jake Sutherland as the number one option into the flat. Jake's not that type of guy. He is, going to get your little pop pass here and there. He's, a more physical receiver. He's not going to make anyone miss, is what you usually try to do on those plays. They didn't really attack the seams last week, which I thought was completely open. I think AJ thrives in that 4-minute type offense, a little bit more up tempo. But that's doesn't seem like what they're calling, and sometimes it feels like Gradkowski gets too cute. I only really graded AJ on 2 bad throws. He had a bad overthrow, and then he had a interception that was underthrown. Steven Mitchell beat the DB on, so the route was effective, but regardless, he threw that interception. I mean, I got AJ at the top spot going into week 6, more of a regression of Silvers and Danucci, but he played the cleanest game and he's done it on the consistent level. Mike Mitchell has put him at his all uh his all midseason XFL teams. So those are my rankings this week, guys. Hope you enjoy them. Please leave a comment if I got anything right, anything wrong. Always love hearing your opinions. Got a couple guests coming on next week, so it should be a pretty fun time. But once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Have a good day. Bye.